Hello everyone, and welcome to Brainwaves. Today on Brainwaves, we're going to talk about major depressive disorder and some possible new therapies which might act faster than current drugs do. Major depressive disorder is it's a debilitating disorder that can rob individuals of motivation, of pleasure, and of the experience of meaning and quality of life. And current medications for depression can actually help a lot of people, but they tend not to start to act until at least 2 to 4 weeks after someone starts taking them. So Stephanie Dulawa, PhD, is an associate professor of psychiatry and behavioral neuroscience at the University of Chicago, and she's interested in developing drugs which can start to act faster for depression. And she's also won the 2014 Imro Johnson & Johnson Rising Star Depression Research Award in memory of George Largay. Now, in winning her award, she submitted a really exciting proposal, and she's here to tell us a little bit about it. Stephanie, thank you for being with us today, and welcome to Brainwaves.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolutely, yeah, it's great to have you here. So let's start out with a somewhat personal question. Can you tell us a little bit about what experiences have inspired you to want to develop better therapies for depression sufferers?
Well, I and probably many of you have known friends or had close family members that have been affected by depressive disorders, which, as you mentioned, it's a very devastating disorder which robs people of their ability to experience any pleasure in life, oftentimes to even be able to function at all or even work, and of course in the most severe cases can even result in suicide. So I've just known a lot of really terrific people that have been severely debilitated by depressive disorders, which are also very common, by the way. So anywhere from 20 to 25% of people will experience a major depressive episode at some point in their life. So this is a very common problem that really needs to be addressed.
Definitely, I agree. In your Rising Star proposal, you mentioned that you and your lab have already discovered that a specific serotonin receptor blocking chemical can produce an antidepressant effect in mice in about 5 days, which is much faster than the 14 to 28 days it takes current drugs to act. But this is interesting because current selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor drugs, SSRI drugs, work by promoting more serotonin in the synapse so that receptors can get more serotonin activation, whereas these new chemicals you're testing actually block that. So can you explain why these new serotonin blockers you're going to test act in the same way that serotonin reuptake inhibitors do, these serotonin promoting chemicals do, but they do it faster?
Yes, so actually, so the SSRIs and the serotonin 2C receptor antagonists are both reducing depressive behaviors, but we believe they're actually doing so through different mechanisms. So the serotonin 2C blockers that we're working with selectively block only one particular subtype of serotonin receptor, and that's the 2C subtype. And the serotonin 2C receptor subtype is actually not even located on serotonergic neurons. They're only located on other kinds of neurons in the brain. So these receptors do not directly regulate the activity of serotonin neurons like the SSRIs do. Rather, the serotonin 2C receptors play a major role in controlling the activity of specific dopamine pathways in the brain. So we think that this is a major difference between the two. The SSRIs are directly regulating serotonin neuron activity, where the 2C receptor antagonist is directly controlling dopamine pathway activity.
Okay. That kind of makes sense in that dopamine is known to be a reward-related neurotransmitter, and maybe that has some effect on people feeling happier. But what you want to do in your Rising Star proposal is to understand the mechanisms by which the dopamine system is involved in mediating the effects of these selective serotonin 2C antagonists and to be antidepressants in a fast way. So why is understanding these mechanisms so important?
Well, if we can identify the exact circuits that are critical for modulating mood and depressive-like behavior, then we'll be able to develop much smarter and more selective drugs that can target the exact circuits that are actually involved in the symptoms, and that way we can hopefully also avoid problematic side effects.
Okay, that totally makes sense, yeah. So hopefully you'll be successful there and help a lot of patients. So thanks for doing this great research for depression sufferers. Now, I want to ask you a couple of speculative questions. And first of all, do you believe that a cure for major depressive disorder is possible?
I actually think that it could eventually be possible. However, I think that major depressive disorder is probably not going out to it's not actually going to turn out to be just one entity. It's probably going to be a collection of several different disorders that have somewhat different underlying neurobiologies. And once we can differentiate between these, then we can develop treatments that will target each one of these sort of different subtypes. That's my hope, and I do think that it's possible for this to happen.
So what might it take to make a cure for major depressive disorder? Like how might we get there?
Well, we're going to have to first, I'd say, better understand the genetic architecture of depression, like I was saying earlier, and sort of be able to identify different subtypes. We'll need to better understand the environmental risk factors, because clearly both genetics and environmental factors play into the development of depression. They both have an equally important role. But of course, critically, this work is going to need continued funding and support.
Great. I totally agree, and that's what we at IMRO work to do. And we've had a lot of great generous donors who've helped research in that way. So thanks to all of our donors out there. So Stephanie, do you have any ideas about other ways in which interested viewers can help in this quest for developing a cure or at least better therapies in the near term for major depressive disorder?
Well, the public has done a fantastic job in increasing awareness and funding for several disorders, including autism, for example. Depression is a very common illness. As I mentioned, there are a large number of families that are affected by this disorder, and they could become an extremely powerful lobby to increase more funding and for more research for this disorder. And I think another thing that's very critical is that we all try to help to eliminate the stigma that's associated with all neuropsychiatric disorders like depression, because this will also help to increase public awareness and support. So go out and talk to your friends and educate them. Tell them that these psychiatric disorders are diseases that require treatment rather than flaws of character.
Excellent. I couldn't have said it better myself. That's a great message. So, so Stephanie, thanks for all your insights. And if viewers have any questions for you once I publish this video, are you ready to answer some questions?
I'd love to answer some questions for people.
Excellent. Thanks, Stephanie. Thanks for being on Brainwaves, and hope you have a great day.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.